This video was brought to you by Brilliant. Today, Joe Biden warns of a tech billionaire oligarchy in his farewell address. A long-awaited Gaza ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas is announced, and Ukraine and Poland make progress towards resolving a historic dispute. From TLDR News, this is your daily briefing for Thursday, the 16th of January, 2025. Outgoing US President Joe Biden has used his farewell speech to warn of the dangers of an ultra-wealthy tech industrial complex in the US, which he said could wield unchecked power over Americans. Sitting in the Oval Office, Biden said, "Today, an oligarchy is taking shape in America of extreme wealth, power, and influence that literally threatens our entire democracy, our basic rights and freedoms, and a fair shot for everyone to get ahead." In his speech, which some commentators have likened to US President Dwight Eisenhower's farewell address in 1961, which popularized the concept of a military-industrial complex, Biden also raised several other concerns. He cited a crumbling free press, rising disinformation, and the dismantling of steps taken to address the climate crisis. He said, "Powerful forces want to wield their unchecked influence to eliminate the steps we've taken to tackle the climate crisis to serve their own interests for power and profit," adding that Americans are being buried under an avalanche of misinformation and disinformation, enabling the abuse of power. Biden's speech also took aim at the wealthy tech billionaires close to incoming US President Donald Trump. Implicitly referring to last week's decision by Meta, the multinational social media company owned by Mark Zuckerberg, to scrap third-party fact-checking, Biden said, "Social media is giving up on fact-checking. The truth is smothered by lies told for power and for profit." The tech companies Meta and Amazon, owned by billionaire Jeff Bezos, have each donated $1 million to Trump's inauguration fund. And Zuckerberg, Bezos, and Elon Musk are all expected to attend his inauguration on Monday. But Biden also took the opportunity to reflect on his personal political journey from a kid with a stutter from Scranton, Pennsylvania, to the highest office in the US, saying, "I have given my heart and my soul to our nation." He celebrated his administration's achievements on job creation, infrastructure spending, healthcare, and steering the US out of the pandemic. Closing his farewell speech with a long-standing presidential tradition, Biden called on Americans to stand guard of their country, saying, "May you all be the keeper of the flame." There's more on the way, but remember to subscribe and ring the bell for more daily briefing tomorrow. Plus, if you want to support the channel like Zoe F. Schildpad, then consider joining the TLDR Daily Membership Program for just $1.99. Last night, US President Joe Biden, President-elect Donald Trump, and the Prime Minister of Qatar announced a ceasefire between Hamas and Israel, which will begin on Sunday and will hopefully see the end of the 15-month conflict in Gaza, and the release of the 98 hostages currently held captive in Gaza. The ceasefire is structured around a three-phase proposal, initially endorsed by Biden last May. The first phase includes a 42-day truce, during which 33 hostages, consisting of women, the elderly, and the wounded, will be released in exchange for an as-yet unspecified number of Palestinians detained by Israel. During this period, Israeli troops are expected to redeploy and facilitate the flow of aid into Gaza. The second phase, which presents greater challenges, seeks to establish a permanent ceasefire, secure the release of all remaining hostages, including Israeli soldiers, and ensure the full withdrawal of IDF troops. With just 3 days left before the ceasefire takes effect, Israel today intensified its strikes on Gaza, which killed at least 46 people. Meanwhile, Netanyahu, who is facing backlash from his far-right allies for agreeing to the deal, has accused Hamas of making last-minute demands and backtracking on the deal. At the time of writing, the Netanyahu cabinet has delayed meeting to approve the deal. Furthermore, several pressing questions remain. First, how long will the ceasefire last? Some analysts suggest its durability will depend significantly on the political influence of the incoming president-elect, whose administration is filled with strong pro-Israel advocates, and who, in his first term, implemented a series of pro-Israel measures that upended decades of US policy. Another key concern is who will govern Gaza moving forward. There is uncertainty about which entity will take control, as neither Israel, the US, nor Arab states want Hamas, which has ruled Gaza since 2007, to maintain power. However, Netanyahu has yet to present a plan for the post-war governance of Gaza, and has dismissed calls from the US and Arab nations to work with the Palestinian Authority, which administers parts of the West Bank. If you want to find out more, head to our TLDR Global channel, where we've released a full video explaining the ceasefire deal. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelenskyy made a surprise visit to Warsaw on Wednesday for talks with Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk, after the two sides reported progress on a historical dispute between the countries. Despite Poland being one of Ukraine's strongest backers since the Russian invasion of 2022, a long-running dispute over Second World War-era massacres of Poles by Ukrainian nationalists has strained relations between the neighbours for decades. Last week, Donald Tusk announced that there had been a breakthrough, meaning Ukraine would allow the exhumation of some Polish victims. Then on Wednesday, at a joint press conference with Zelenskyy, he said, "We are finding a common language when it comes to the issue of the Volhynia crime," referring to the region where some of the massacres took place. He added that we will work towards a systemic solution to this problem. The long-running dispute has become even more salient as Poland prepares for its presidential election in May, and Tusk's party's candidate faces a tough opposition challenge from the right-wing Law and Justice Party, whose candidate is head of the Institute of National Remembrance. Also at the press conference, Tusk vowed to use Poland's presidency of the Council of the EU, which it took up on January the 1st and will hold until June the 20th, to push forward with progress on Ukraine's EU membership bid. The billionaire space race continued today as Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin space company successfully launched a rocket into orbit for the first time, with the goal of rivaling Elon Musk's SpaceX. The 30-story tall reusable rocket, named New Glenn after the first American to orbit the Earth, blasted off from the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida early on Thursday, after its first attempt was cancelled on Monday due to a vehicle subsystem issue. The primary mission goal was successful, as the rocket entered orbit and successfully activated its Blue Ring Pathfinder payload, which is receiving data and performing well, according to Blue Origin. However, the secondary goal was unsuccessful, as the reusable first-stage booster, dubbed So You're Telling Me There's a Chance, failed to stick the landing on its barge in the Atlantic Ocean, with the company confirming the booster was lost. Nevertheless, achieving orbit on its first attempt is a win for Blue Origin and comes after almost a decade of development. According to Space.com, New Glenn has been tapped to help launch Amazon's Project Kuiper internet satellites, which it hopes will rival SpaceX's Starlink mega constellation.
There's a lot of difficult decisions necessary here, and making huge decisions, especially quickly, is difficult, even for world leaders. The good thing is that Brilliant is where you learn by doing, with thousands of interactive lessons in maths, data, programming, and AI. Their interactive classes help build your critical thinking skills through problem solving, not memorizing. So while you're building real knowledge on specific topics, you'll also be becoming a better thinker. For instance, their Predicting with Probability course can help you better understand and assess the world around you. You can learn to wrangle massive datasets, compare distributions, and master fundamental concepts like Bayes' theorem. That might sound a little technical, but with their active learning, you learn this by answering questions like which airline is least likely to have a delay due to weather, and how much more unruly airline passengers have gotten since the pandemic. Data skills are absolutely necessary for navigating the modern world, and Brilliant is the best way to get them. To try everything Brilliant has to offer for free for a full 30 days, visit brilliant.org/TLDR, or click the link in the description. And by doing so, you'll also get 20% off an annual premium subscription.